So last year, as part of the Innovator in Residence program at the Library of Congress, Brian Fu launched Citizen DJ, a way to explore and remix audio samples from the Library of Congress. Although designed for creating hip-hop music, we'll try to see if we can use it to make Chicago house and footwork music. Or something close to it anyway. Let's start by opening up the Citizen DJ homepage. Right away, there's a nice demo video by Brian, which I recommend watching to learn more about his goals and inspiration for this project. So the idea is that the audio samples from the library are organized into different digital collections, similar to a sample pack. Some contain music, while others contain voice recordings and sound effects. You can interact with the collection in 3 different ways. First, there's the Explore tool, which lets you quickly get a feel for the sounds within a collection. Then there's the Remix tool, which lets you make music online using samples within a collection. And finally, you can click Download to grab individual files or download an entire collection to use with a program like GarageBand or Ableton. Recently, I've been exploring the Tony Schwartz collection, which contains a mix of radio, conversations, and found sounds. So here you can left-click on Explore to open the Explore tool, Remix to open the Remix tool, or Download to download the files. Let's start by using the Explore tool to find an interesting sample. You'll notice the name of the current collection is listed at the top of the screen. From here, I could actually click and select a different collection to explore, without having to go back to the home page. After the page loads, you can left-click and drag your mouse across to quickly get a feel for the different sounds. You can also left-click to listen to a specific sound. The currently active sound is highlighted with a red square, and the title is displayed at the bottom of the screen. To zoom in and out, you can scroll or roll the middle mouse button. The sounds are grouped together by similarity. So for instance, if a collection contains a lot of low bass guitar sounds, they're likely going to be grouped together in one area, while high-pitched violin sounds would be close together in a different area. You can click the Filter tool to filter sounds within a collection. For instance, if you wanted to find all the low-pitched sounds, you could click and drag the maximum pitch slider down to a lower number. If you wanted to find higher-pitched sounds, you could click and drag to increase the value of the minimum pitch slider. You can also filter by musical note. So if you want to find sounds that match a particular musical key, this makes it very easy to do. Lastly, you can sort by subject categories within a collection. In this case, I can filter to see only children's sounds or sound effects. Once you find an interesting sound, on the lower right toolbar you can click Play in Context to hear the full sound sample. The title of the sound is shown at the very bottom of the screen, and on the right you can click View More Details to open up a new window that lets you read more about where this sound comes from. Okay. So back to the Explore tool. Once you find a sound you like, click the Remix This button to open up the Remix tool. At the top of this page, you can see the collection we're in, which I can click and change at any time. When first opening the Remix tool, it'll take a sound in a collection and randomly create a pattern and a beat. If I click the play button at the top, I can listen to the musical sequence and click again to stop it. So those of you coming from a program like FL Studio will immediately recognize this interface. It's a 16-note sequencer where each row represents a sample or drum sound, and each little box represents when that particular sound should play. So you can definitely have a lot of fun playing around with the random patterns that this thing can create. But for now, I'm going to clear everything out and start from scratch. To do that, I'm going to click on each of these little squares to turn the notes off. Okay, once we clear the drum pattern, we can click the play button and we don't hear anything, but we can add a snare drum to beats 2 and 4 to get started, and click the drum machine drop down to select a different drum machine. I'll select an 808. Let's click and drag the BPM slider to up the tempo to 120 beats per minute, which is more of a house tempo. and add a sample on beat 1. On the right, you can click the settings icon to adjust the settings for this sample. You can change the clip start time so you get a different part of the sample. You can change the duration to make it a short sample or a long sample. And you can finally adjust the volume. You can do this with any of the sounds. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple more samples here and adjust their settings. I like to keep the loop running while I'm making all these changes because it kind of gives me instant feedback for how things sound. Alright, so I'm going to go back down to the drums for a second and add a kick drum on beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is a classic house drum pattern called 4 on the floor. You can add another drum track by going down to this drop down and selecting the sound you want and clicking add. I'm going to add a tom sound on top of the kicks just to give it a little bit more attack. Alright, so we're getting there. I'm going to add a hi-hat to the upbeats and play around with adding a couple more drum sounds. Again, you can click mute next to any track to mute it so you don't hear it. Or you could click solo to only hear that track and mute everything else. Alright, once you get to a place where you want to save your pattern, you can go to the top and click Save Pattern. This is a cool feature that lets you save while you're working, but just keep in mind that it's temporary, and if you clear your browser's settings or if you're on a public computer, you may lose your pattern. A better way to save your pattern would be to click the Share button and then copy the link, or to click the Download Pattern button and actually download an MP3 of the pattern. So there's one more way to save your pattern, and that's to record a live performance of your pattern. The way you do this is you click the record button and you can add parts or remove parts. You can change the volume. You can change the pattern completely, and it'll constantly just keep recording. And then once you stop recording, it'll create an MP3 that you can download to your computer. I tried this both in Firefox and Chrome, and I had trouble with Chrome, so I definitely recommend doing this in Firefox. Alright, so in the next video we'll try to make a footwork track and see how it goes.